Starting off at number 10 now, we have Pinky Pinky. This is a creature steeped in the mist of folklore, known to many South Africans as a symbol of fear, rape, and torment. It's said to be half man, half woman. Its origins date back centuries in Zulu culture. It's said to have rose-tinted skin and eyes with shocking pink hair. It's said to prey on adolescent girls, especially ones wearing pink, both in real life and in their nightmares. People say it tries to corner a girl and then speaks to her in a musical woman's voice and asks if the girl will play or be friends with Pinky Pinky. Some parts of South Africa are dismissive of this, but authorities do take reports of the creature seriously. Headmasters have even closed down schools in the past to protect their pupils from the so-called myth. Police investigations are not uncommon when reports of the Pinky Pinky come in. Perhaps real rapists and murderers have contributed to the spread of this myth, but many locals will tell you there's no smoke without fire, and the Pinky Pinky really is out there. Next up at number 9 now, we have the ghostly horseman. In the Tokai forest lies the Tokai Manor. The story goes that in the mid-1800s it was owned by a man called Petrus Eckstein. He loved wild drunken parties, and for him, New Year's Eve was the greatest party of them all. One New Year's Eve, Petrus challenged his son Frederick in front of all of the guests. He made a bet that Frederick should ride his favourite horse up the steep steps of the manor and into the house. His son did this and all the guests cheered. As he went back down the stairs though, a slave rang the bell to signal midnight. The horse got spooked and tumbled down the steps, dragging Frederick to his death. This violent end is said to have bound Frederick's soul to the house, specifically in the way that he died. In the years since then, people who have worked or visited the house report hearing strange sounds, drunken laughter, or the echoing of horse hooves. Then there are some who swear they've seen a man in old-fashioned clothes galloping along on a horseback in the forest, especially on New Year's Eve or in the early hours of the morning. At number 8 now, we have Highway Sheila. Residents of Chatsworth will know all about this famous ghost. According to them, Sheila was a young Indian girl who was trying to flag down people to help fix her broken car by the side of the N2 highway. A group of men pulled over, they sexually assaulted her, murdered her, and then left her by the side of the road. Her spirit is now said to be bound to that stretch of road, full of vengeance and hate for all of the living. She now does what was done to her, terrorizing or even killing innocent people on the road. One story involves a young man who picked up a hitchhiker called Sheila. The man offered to take her home and noticed the temperature drop in his car when the woman got in. He offered her his coat, which she accepted. He then dropped her off at her home nearby, at which point she wanted to return the coat. The man insisted that she keep it and said he would fetch it in the morning. When he went back to the house the following day, a middle-aged woman answered the door and the man asked for Sheila. The woman was baffled and said that Sheila doesn't live here anymore. The man said he had just dropped her off the night before. The woman said that was impossible, as Sheila had died years before. She told him where her grave was as proof. He rushed to the spot and there, draped over the gravestone, was the jacket he had given to Sheila. Next up at number 7 now, we have the Mermaid of the Karoo. The Great Karoo is a large desert in South Africa. It doesn't rain very often there at all. They say that in parts of the Karoo there are 5-year-old children who have never seen rain before. It didn't always used to be like this though. 250 million years ago the whole area was apparently sea. Today you can find fossilized shells in the desert as evidence. This seems to tie in with a local legend that deep below the ground, in water pools in caves, there lies a mermaid. Legend says that she has lived there ever since a great flood washed her there from the sea many years ago. When the waters receded, she was trapped there. In local folklore, people have seen the mermaid for generations. She lures them in by promising their heart's desires before sending them to a watery grave. This urban legend picked up pace when people pointed out that the ancient sand rock paintings in the driest part of Karoo Desert seem to depict mermaid-like creatures on the walls. Skeptics argue otherwise, but still, the legend of the Karoo mermaid has been around for a very long time now and may continue for just as long. Moving on to number 6 now, we have the anti-occult police. You've heard of normal police, traffic police, and undercover police, but have you heard of anti-occult police? In the 1980s and early 1990s, South Africa saw the birth of a real police squad whose sole role it was to fight back against satanic crimes. The founder of the unit was a Dr. Cobus Jonker, also known as the Hound of God. He said that in the 90s, he was investigating more than 250 cases a year and believed that there were thousands of Satanists active in South Africa. It was their job to make sure people who practiced Wicca were doing so without harming anyone else around them. There were documented cases of some traditional healers harvesting organs from people in the name of their belief or simply for money. They often believe the victim must be alive when the organs are harvested, and they will try to find the youngest and most innocent victims possible. The pain and hormones released is apparently what gives the organ its power. In 2006, the police unit was officially dissolved, although some people in South Africa feel they simply went underground to continue a very real fight against the occult. Next up at number 5 now, we have the lightning bird. This is a mythical creature in a number of different tribal folklores in South Africa. It's said to take the form of a black and white bird which is the size of a person. It summons thunder and lightning using its wings and talons. It's also vampiric and has an insatiable appetite for human blood. The bird is usually the servant of a witch or witch doctor and attacks their enemies. Some say it manifests itself as lightning to men and a bird to women. Although people fear the lightning bird attacking them and sucking their blood dry, some people hope to actually hunt it themselves. You see, the fat of the lightning bird is said to be a great source of fuel or an ingredient for traditional medicine. However, killing it is said to be no easy task, as the lightning bird is immune to gunshots or stabbing. You can't poison it or drown it. It can only be killed by fire. So, if you've ever wanted to hunt down and kill a vampiric lightning bird that can suck your blood dry, now you know how. Moving on to number 4 now, we have the Green Point Lighthouse. Built in 1924, the red and white striped Green Point Lighthouse is the oldest working beacon in South Africa. With all of that history, it may not come as a surprise to some people that the building is famously haunted. The story goes that the tower is inhabited by a one-legged spirit simply called Daddy West. There was actually a lighthouse keeper by the name of West who worked there in 1901. Some people believe this adds weight to the claims. Next up at number 3 now, we have the Afterlife Prison. Pieter Gijsbert van Nudert was the governor of Cape Town in the early 1700s. During his time, 4 soldiers tried to flee his harsh rule. They were imprisoned, and when they tried to escape, they were sentenced to death. The governor refused to overturn the sentencing and also attend the hanging. The last soldier to receive his sentence cursed the governor with his dying breath. When officers went to report to the governor that the execution had gone as planned, they found him dead. He was slumped in his chair with a look of sheer terror on his face. Locals blamed the curse, but some people went even further with it. They believed the curse was not only to kill him, but to also tie his soul to the prison forever. These days, visitors to the Castle of Good Hope have reported seeing him roaming the hallways. They say he seems totally unaware of his situation as a ghost and just stares at tourists as if they are new prisoners ready to be executed for their crimes. Next up at number 2 now, we have the Spook House. This very old house in Cape Town has become known over the years simply as the Spook House. The story goes that in the 1970s, the basement in this house was home to a cult group. They practiced their satanic rituals down here, unbeknown to the people at street level. They eventually left, worried that their rituals would be attracting too much attention. Although they were now gone, their energy apparently wasn't. Some believe that one of their victims still haunts the place to this day. Over the years, a number of visitors have spotted a translucent old man walking around the inside of the house. When he disappears, they hear doors swinging and slamming even though the air is still. And finally at number 1 now, we have the ghost of Elsa Cloetti. She was a young Dutch woman who lived in the old Hoot Bay homestead that now houses the Katima restaurant. Back in the 1800s, they say she was in love with a British soldier. Her father prohibited her from dating him, and so the soldier hung himself from an oak tree near the manor house. The girl apparently died soon after as well. At the time, they said it was a broken heart. It's been well over a century and a half since these deaths, but people who work there swear they still see the couple. The staff at the restaurant occasionally witness very bizarre occurrences. These include pots flying off their kitchen walls or books flying off their shelves and lights dimming inexplicably. Others have seen the ghostly figure of a woman standing at one of the manor's windows, as well as that of a young man lurking near the oak trees, staring longingly at the house. The staff all believe this to be so true that they frequently leave meals out for the couple and say they have seen them dine together, enjoying what they were denied in life. And
At number 10 we have Adam's calendar and Wupalanga. Galileo was the first one to map out the stars and inform the world about the solar system, right? Well, maybe not. In Wupalanga there's a series of markings laid out along the ground that can be seen from an aerial view. These markings are a celestial map of star signs and the equinox. What makes these markings so interesting is that they were created 75,000 years ago. Now the urban legend is that the tribes that lived there had some sort of outside help. Perhaps aliens came down and gave these local tribes information about the stars. That would be wild. But what if, and I want you to follow this very closely, Africa is just full of bamps who knew all about the star before anyone else because they're just the greatest of all time. I like that theory so much better. Africa just dunked on Europe when it came out to mapping out the stars. Sorry, Galileo who? Better luck next time, buddy. At number 9 we have Kolomodum. This South African legend is as old as time. This creature is the explanation of the birth of humanity. Kolomodum was a massive creature with an endless appetite. All it wanted to do was eat and eat and eat. It would eat cows, it would eat people. If it moved, this creature wanted to shove it in its chomper. The beast ate everything until it consumed the entire planet, and everyone was sitting nice and tight in its belly. Then it gave birth. Once you complete your goals, it's a nice time to settle down and start a family. Kolomodum had 2 daughters, and even though these girls saw the monster as its mother, they knew it was evil and knew that it had the world trapped inside its belly. So they challenged the beast. The girls battled and defeated Kolomodum. Then with a sharpened blade, they sliced open the belly and freed everyone, returning life to Earth. This is a legend as to where life comes from, but some people think that this creature still lurks in the shadows, waiting for a time its daughters aren't looking so it can strike back. At number 8 we have Inkanyamba, a massive sea snake or eel with a horse's head. Inkanyamba is said to be a massive creature that would sleep most of the winter and then wake up during the summer. I like this guy's style. Sleep through the cold and then come out in bikini season. People would pray to this powerful being and give it offerings. They would do this to try and appease the spirit. Angry Inkanyamba was said to bring great misfortune in the form of storms. This creature is a weather god. If you didn't bring in enough Snickers, it would bring lightning down on your home. That's a little harsh, but the game is the game. At number 7 we have the legend of the Table Mountains. If you ever get the opportunity to travel to South Africa, then you might see the beautiful Table Mountains. You'll see rolling fog that covers them, and it's said that the fog comes from Captain Van Hunks. One day he walked up to Devil's Peak where he would always sit and smoke. When he got there he saw a man who was already chilling in his spot. Very rude. And then the man challenged him to a smoking competition. Once again, rude. I came up here to chill. But Van Hunks was like, whatever, I'll take you on. The two sat there all day and smoked. Van Hunks dunked on this guy. Turns out this guy was actually the devil, and he was super pissed that he just got outblazed by some dude that has Hunk in his name. So in a flash of light, the devil teleported them both to somewhere unknown. Now all that sits there is the cloud of smoke that they left behind. At number 6 we have witches. Witches are a real thing all over Africa, and they aren't a group of ladies that dye their hair black and burn some incense. No, they are extremely dangerous. There was an epidemic throughout South Africa where witches were killing albinos because they thought they had magical powers inside of them and they wanted to consume their strength. How would they consume their hidden powers? Well, they would eat all of these albino people. Yeah, there were cannibal murderous witches running throughout South Africa that will kill you for ingredients to a potion. Ugh. The urban legend that goes along with this is that they actually have some sort of magical ability. These people aren't magical in any way, they are just psychopaths. They want to kill you, they can't heal you, they're just sort of insane. They think by taking some of your body parts, they can have some sort of magical or supernatural power or something like that. Just avoid them. At number 5 we have the Castle of Good Hope's Demon Dog. This is an old abandoned castle. It's quite run down and a little dangerous to walk through, but that doesn't stop it from being a major tourist attraction. Now, like most old rundown buildings, this place has a few tenants who never want to leave. One of them is the ghost of a large demonic dog. This beast has been seen walking around the building looking for people. People who actually enter the premise rarely see the hound, but a few people have said they've seen it run out of the darkness, leap out them, and then vanish. That's enough to make you poop in your favorite travel shorts. At number 4 we have the Jim Fuchs High School Phantom Girl. Man, going to a haunted school would suck. You're trying to learn stuff and then you keep seeing a headless woman walk around in front of the projector. Like, dude, this is distracting. Well, the Jim Fuchs High School was a pretty peaceful place, ghost free, until they went to dig a new pool for the students. While excavating this pit, the workers uncovered the body of a young girl. It's unknown who this girl was, but that didn't matter. Her spirit was awakened. People started seeing this ghostly girl walking through the halls of the school. Some people heard a girl singing or whistling, and to be honest, I have no idea if they ever finished building the pool for these kids. That's quite a depressing thought. Spooks over splashes. We have brute slang. This is a classic legend. If you can defeat the beast, you will be rich. If you lose, it will cost you your life. Legend tells of a giant serpent that lives in a cave in Richardsville. The cave that this monster lives in is said to be a bottomless pit filled with an endless amount of diamonds. You can see the wealth in your mind right now. But this hoarder isn't going to just let you take your retirement plan without a fight. Everyone who has come for this treasure has met their fate. In 1917, an Englishman named Peter Grayson is said to have entered the cave and never returned. At number 2, we have the Claxton spheres. These spheres gained worldwide attention when they were dug out of a mine in South Africa. The spheres boggled scientists after they were carbon dated, and they were shown to be over 3 billion years old. All the stones in that area weren't even close to that old. Also, these weren't just regular rocks. They had these perfect grooves running along the sides. So immediately when people see something like this, they think aliens. So someone took them to NASA to see what the Masters of Outer Space had to say, and it turns out that these spheres were so perfectly formed that it seemed they were formed in zero gravity. That only made people more convinced that they came from another world. There are a lot of legends that try to explain what these stones might be. Stories have told them being used to transfer information, while other people think they could be tools. So the stones themselves are not a legend, they are real, but the legend is where they came from and what they might be used for, and that changes every day. At number 1, we have Tokoloshi. This gremlin is a lot like Golem from Lord of the Rings, but a goblin. These guys will ruin your life. They are mischievous, thieves, and they bring tons of misfortune. It's said that they can cause horrible things to happen to your life and feed off the dark energy. There's also rumors that they feast on human blood while you sleep. They look kinda like a half human, half animal troll goblin thing that has a disgusting face and gray pale skin. Basically, you don't want to get a visit from one of these dudes. And it isn't just some old urban legend that no one talks about anymore. People are still super afraid of these things. In 1993, a man was convicted for murdering his nephew. His defense was that it was dark and he thought his nephew was a Tokoloshi. This could have just been a lame defense justifying his murder, but there's a very good chance that this man was so afraid of this goblin thing that he killed his own flesh and blood.
Okay, first up we have Madame Koi Koi in at number 10. This is a legend about a dead teacher who haunts high school students, and this ghost has been around for a very long time. No one knows when this story originated, but the story about a deranged dead high school teacher in red high heels still haunts the dreams of high school kids even to this day. The legend of Madame Koi Koi goes something like this. There used to be a very beautiful teacher who was known for her striking looks and red high heels. So even though she was beautiful, she had a reputation of being nasty to her students. She would beat them for no reason at all, so she was hated around the school. According to this legend, she was fired because she slapped a female student and severely injured her ear. So on her way home, Madame Koi Koi, well, she was actually hit by a car and she died the same day. But before she died, she promised that she would have her revenge on the school and on all the rotten students. Soon after, the students said that they could still hear her footsteps around the school, and at night they said that they can hear her whispering evil things to them while they sleep. I wonder what she's whispering to them. And just like that, next up at number 9, we have night whistling. Some Nigerians believe that if you whistle at night, you are inviting evil spirits to come knocking on your door and create mayhem. There are a ton of stories where people have whistled at night, and as a consequence, they had snakes come into their homes, cult members tried to break into the house, evil spirits break objects, or they even find themselves in unfamiliar places. I don't know about you guys, but something about this legend makes me wonder if parents made this up so their kids are quiet at nighttime. But if I live in Nigeria, I don't think I would test my luck, because you never know what would happen. According to one version of this urban legend, a young girl whistled at night, and out of nowhere she was surrounded by pythons, demons, evil apparitions, and dead corpse. I mean, wow, talk about having an extremely bad night. Up next, at number 8, we're talking about fish. Yes, fish. There is a river in Kogi State which is believed to be heavily cursed. If you catch a fish from this cursed river, the fish will always be raw no matter how long you try and cook it for. This is a challenge I would accept because I don't believe it. Also, if you get injured by the bone of any fish in this river, that injury will never heal. And I'm not sure how you would get injured by the bone of a fish in the river, but I'm just gonna roll with this one. And if people know that this river is cursed, why would you even go fishing or swimming there? I mean, save your time and energy and go fishing somewhere else. Unless you're like me and up for a good challenge, and you don't believe in this at all. Pregnant women are at number 7 on this list. Nigeria is a country that is full of strange urban legends, and there is one legend about pregnant women that is both terrifying and crazy at the same time. So according to this legend, a pregnant woman must never walk around at certain times during the day because an evil spirit will enter her body and replace her actual child. Also, if pregnant women in Nigeria eat snails, the child will be sluggish and have a mouth that constantly drools. There's even an urban legend that says pregnant women should never let anyone cross over her legs, or else she will give birth to a child with one leg or hand. Okay, seriously, what is going on here? There are way too many crazy urban legends about pregnant women. We could probably do a top 10 list, Nigerian pregnant women urban legends. That will freak you out. But we're not going to. So let's move on. Dog surprisingly makes its way onto this list at number 6. Okay, so you know how sometimes dogs randomly bark for no apparent reason? Well, they probably have their reason, but we don't know why. And have you ever noticed that sometimes dogs will look like they're about to attack something that isn't even there? When they get into that stance and that stare off, it freaks me out. Well, a lot of people in Nigeria believe that this is because dogs have the ability to see supernatural beings or ghosts, so when they are barking like crazy, it is said that they are trying to warn you that there is an evil spirit nearby. Some people also believe that if you take a little bit of liquid from around their eyes and rub it onto yours, you will temporarily have the ability to see spirits as well. Okay, first of all, who in their right minds would want to see an evil spirit that are after your soul? And secondly, why would you rub your dog's grossy goo eyes on your eyes? I mean, this is not a thing. You're gonna get an infection. You're gonna get pink eye or something. This just seems like a really bad idea and really gross. I do believe dogs can see ghosts, but I don't want to see ghosts. So this is something I'm never going to do. Nigeria's Zuma Rock comes into this list at number 5. The Zuma Rock is about 725 meters high, and visitors from around the world come to this rock because it is surrounded by a ton of myths and legends. If you look closely on one side of the rock, you will see that there is a small portion of the stone that resembles a face. The natives believe that the face represents a higher power that protects the community. Some even say that it is a gateway to the afterlife, and when someone dies, their spirit goes into the rock. If this is true, this rock must have had millions of spirits, and not all of them are good spirits. Visitors even say that when they visit the Zumba Rock, they feel a silent, cold presence that makes them feel uneasy. This rock looks nice and all, but I wouldn't want to visit something that claims to have a bunch of dead spirits trapped inside of the rock. And I for sure wouldn't bring my dog to this rock because it's going to be barking like crazy. Okay, mermaids swim onto this list at number 4. Over here in the Western world, we consider mermaids to be beautiful mythological creatures who don't really cause any harm. Right? Well, over in Nigeria, they're referred to as a mami water, and people are really afraid of them, which is so bizarre to me. So they probably don't grow up watching The Little Mermaid, because that's probably a horror film. Well, that's because an urban legend makes people believe that they are deceptive creatures who will stop at nothing to kill you. They believe that a mami water is an evil marine creature who lives in large bodies of water, and in order to keep them happy, people will throw severed goat heads into the water so that the mami water is satisfied and doesn't crave any human blood. However, if the mami water isn't happy, they are said to lure humans into the water where they will eat them alive. Well then, I don't think I'm going to be swimming in any large bodies of water in Nigeria from now on, because I'm kind of freaked out on mermaids now. Bush baby cries itself into number 3. Lock your doors and windows because this urban legend is actually terrifying. The bush baby is an evil and conniving spirit who mimics a baby crying in the bushes. This is weird. It is believed that this baby was abandoned by its mother in the middle of the forest and was left there to die. So now the soul of the baby cries every night looking for its mother. This seems pretty sad, but don't be fooled. This isn't a nice baby. At night, the bush baby will cry so that he can lure innocent people towards him. This urban legend says that if you look at the baby, you will instantly die. So I guess the moral of the story is don't be a good Samaritan if you hear a baby crying in the bushes, because if you go and investigate it, that might be the last decision that you've ever made. The dead makes its way onto this list at number 2. Unlike typical ghosts, in Nigeria, the dead do not haunt people or living things. Instead, It is believed that ghosts and spirits pretend to start a new life in villages far away from their place of birth, where they will trick people into believing that they are alive. There are countless stories about people believing that they have met someone new, but they have no idea that they're falling in love with a dead person until it's too late. So basically, this urban legend is the creepiest and most morbid legend I've ever heard of. I'm definitely getting the Sixth Sense vibe here, so let's move on to this next urban legend, and hopefully it isn't as dark as this one. So I think we've done it again. We've saved the best for last. So in at number 1, we have the bunk shaker. Okay, so for those of you guys who have bunk beds, I would consider getting rid of it after you hear this urban legend. In Nigeria, there is a common story about a ghost that terrorizes students in boarding schools who sleep on the top bunk. Normally people fight over the top bunk, but in Nigeria, they're literally fighting for their lives to stay on the bottom bunk. And this is because there's an urban legend about a demonic creature who likes to shake the bunk bed. He starts off gently at first, but eventually he gets really aggressive, and it causes the person to come down from their bed to see what is happening. But that is one of the biggest mistakes you could do, and that's because the demon wants you to get down from the bed so he can pierce you with his long dirty fingernails and drag you under the bed, where you're never going to be seen or heard from again. I don't know about you guys, but if I ever need to sleep on a bunk, I'm calling dibs on the bottom bunk, or better yet, I'm sleeping on the floor. But then again, I mean, this creature drags you under the bed. You on the bottom bunk are just above that creature. So I think I'm just not sleeping ever again, because I don't know where to sleep.